Early on in your career in an assessment, you were told you were a risk to the organization. How did you get over that?
I think in any moment like that, every one of us, there's a fight or a flight response. You can either decide, I'm going to turn tail and run from this, which sometimes looks like I don't believe it, or I'm not going to acknowledge it, or I'm just going to go somewhere else. Or you can decide, somewhere in here there's a nugget of truth. Somewhere in here there are things I need to work on. And I fundamentally took the latter path, and I buckled down and said, what are those attributes that might be leading to me to be seen as a risk, and how do I proactively push myself against those and try to come out the other side a better leader. And ultimately, in the next leadership assessment, I brought my own development plan, said, I heard you, here are all the things I'm working on, and here's where I've made progress.
That was very nice. Another dope intro from DL. So I just went out to the IG world and let them know we was going to go live here and talk about SWOTs. Welcome back to Building Her, She the Boss, with good folks at 97.9 The Box in Houston and People Station and all that good stuff, you know, whatever it is. In fact, let's go ahead without further ado, because I know she's on a deadline today, and so am I. Let's bring in Keisha Nicole, beautiful and talented and intelligent.
Better on that picture, though.
What's happening?
Hi, Justin.
How's everything? You doing good today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. We're digging in, man. It's, things seem to be opening back up now. Everybody's kind of got I think the summer, how your abs right now? You got your abs right?
Oh, no, Justin, I am like slacking. Remember I was going hard in the gym? I have been slacking so much and eating. I had to go visit some family, then I had to take a little break. And, when you go, you eat and then come back and it's like, you don't go to the gym. So that's where I am right now.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people. I read this deal the other day that said the people had gained, I think, 1.5 pounds or something over COVID. And I was kind of surprised by that because I would have thought people would have lost weight over COVID.
I saw something. I was talking about this morning on the air. They said people gained 2 pounds a month during COVID, during the quarantine time. They said the average person gained 2 pounds a month.
Now, the old me would have said in the right places, that ain't a bad thing. But, we take it pretty serious around here. Like my wife and I, we're kind of like into the fitness thing, and we were into the diet thing before COVID. Then when COVID hit, for whatever reason, I was one of those people that went and bought a bunch of beans and rice and stuff like that. And we started eating them. And then I became vegan. She's vegetarian or mostly plant-based. We did all that over COVID. I think we're going to end up going back, but I will suffice it to say she's beach ready than me, but we're both beach ready. Like we're ready to jump. As soon as we get that shot, I'll get done. I'm on flights out of here.
Wait, so are you vegan right now?
Oh yeah, 100%. I haven't had meat, any meat, not butter, not cream, not milk, not, in my coffee. Everything has been plant-based for close to 2 months now.
Okay.
And I feel like if you can do something for 2-3 months, then you've really done it. If I did it for I could really do it. I don't think, and my doctor didn't even recommend it. He's not like, do this forever. In fact, he's like, I'm not an advocate of that. I think maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, have like a white, meat, like a white fish or chicken or a pork chop. But he goes, the most plant-based protein is better for you than meat-based protein. But I just can't do it,
I'm a pescatarian, but I find myself, and I heard it's not like that good for you, eating Impossible meat a lot lately, but I eat it a lot.
Do you really? It's I don't know, something about it tastes like I've cooked it all kinds of ways. I've made my own sauce. I've tried other people's sauce. I don't care. And most things I can manage to make them taste good with the right seasoning. If you got enough seasoning, I can make a shoe taste good. But I did a pair of Jordans with some Tonys on it. But I think that stuff has this. It's kind of like somebody tried too hard. And it just has that you tried too hard to make this taste like something. And so I just don't get it. I've tried it.
He says it smells like spam when you make it. And I can't cook it because of the smell. I'll get sick. But if I go somewhere and I'm like, I need me an Impossible burger. I always find me a good Impossible burger or a good Impossible meat from this place that I found and use the moon bowls. It's fire.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll have to try that out. But you're right. I open up. I'm like, this is dog food. It's like, this is Purina right here, and I can't do that. Look, we're on today to talk about SWOT analysis, which most people, and look, you and I talked about this a short time ago. We thought about having somebody live on with us and walking them through a SWOT analysis for their company. The challenge with that is SWOT requires such a high level of honesty and vulnerability that to do it right means that you would essentially be pointing out your weaknesses publicly, which we really didn't want to put anybody through that experience, with us. So we decided to not do that. So what we did instead, folks, is we've got questions, which are ways to ask SWOT analysis questions, which a lot of people don't know what SWOT is. We'll go through that. But we've got model questions for SWOT, and then we have model answers. So Keisha's going to help us out by reading some of these model answers off. I'll walk you guys through some of the model questions, and we'll handle it that way.
Gotcha.
What are your thoughts?
I like this. This is gonna help me too. So that's why I like tuning into this. It helps me as well.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna turn comments on here in case anybody chimes in. Let's see. We got some people on, and so let's get started with this. I see you. Good morning, beautiful. I will shout you out here in a second because I'm glad you're here. All right. So one of the first things I want to address is, what is a SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And why should everybody do it? Well, because it does essentially put you and your business in a much better position. And you've been, I don't want to steal your thunder, but some of the times we've talked about this stuff, you've talked about like all the people that have these businesses, but they're not always like an original idea, not a great idea, really differentiating. And SWOT analysis is one of those things that if you do it honestly, transparent with yourself, which, let's face, is hard to do, you can get some of the best feedback that allows you to really legitimately differentiate, not just be like, well, it's different because it's me.
Yeah.
And so in order to do a SWOT, you have to ask yourself questions that are, I would say, open-ended. And like, if you ever tried this, I'm not going to do this to you time-wise. One of the things I'll challenge people to do is I'll tell them, ask me open-ended questions for a minute straight. And as fast as they can. It's hard because we're just sort of trained and we lean towards asking yes or no questions. That's just kind of the, right. But SWOT is not yes or no questions. It's open-ended. So it's not just, what are your hours of operation? Are you open 24 hours? And if the answer is yes, the way the question should be asked, are you open 24 hours a day and why? And because that allows you to put the exclamation point on the fact and actually give the reasoning, and then you can link that to either a threat or a weakness, a strength or an opportunity, whatever it is in the market. So if you ask the why or where or how or what or who, then you tend to get yourself a more in-depth answer, which again can be painful if you're doing it one-on-one. So I guess without further ado, you have any questions before we get started?
No, I'm listening.
Okay, so let's get started. And essentially what we're going to do with the strengths, we're going to we'll put these up afterwards, put them on buildingher.com, which you can get to through the boxhouston.com. And then it'll link back to Building Her so people can get this and fill it out themselves.
Or text BOSS to 24042.
Say that again.
Text BOSS, BOSS to 24042.
Listen to that. Tell you what. That's what's up. Okay. All right. So we've got clothing shop. I know a lot of people got the clothing shop thing going, and it's a big deal right now. But so one of the questions, ways we would ask that is, if you have a physical location, is it a strength or weakness and why? And we have a model answer. People go ahead with that.
We are located on a corner with plenty of parking and lots of foot traffic.
There you go. And so we have essentially now, we've been a little bit more clear. We've made more lucid that we're on a corner lot, which is essentially, in the best block or address in any city is Main and Main. So you could be on the corner lot like somewhere outside, saying it's not a great spot,
Right.
But if you're on the corner lot and you have a lot of foot traffic and you're a clothing store, then that's probably enough to be a strength. We would still have to say, to what extent does your store differentiate from the store next to it or next to you and next to it and next to it? Right. And we would still have to say, to what extent are you differentiating from all the other people around you? Which is a painful question because people want to say, well, my store is lavender. and his is orange. That's not a differentiator.
Right.
Like maybe, we have somebody stand outside the store giving out a sample of something. That's a differentiator.
Yep.
Or, we do a special of the day every single day. We offer coupons to people the instant they walk in the store, things like that. Whatever those differentiators are, more calls to action. All right, let's go to a restaurant example. What are you doing that no one else in your industry is doing?
So we offer gluten-free and vegan options that are delicious and affordable.
Now, I didn't know about this one. What are your thoughts? I mean, how many restaurants do you go to now these days that offer gluten-free?
Quite a few, though, actually. Like when you go out to, well, I know I always see like they have this, I don't remember what the symbol is, but they'll have it next to the menu and it'll tell you that it's gluten-free.
Yeah.
Restaurants do, well, a lot of restaurants I go to, but you got to think, it depends on what type of food you eat or where you go. You know what I mean? I go places that are pretty much more on the healthier side. So.
Yeah, so I don't know, if vegan menu or gluten-free is necessarily a differentiator. Again, it would depend on how many people are doing it. But there's this thing called Me Too marketing, essentially, whereas if all you're doing is doing what everybody else is doing, then essentially what you're saying to the prospects is, hey, me too.
Right.
I do that too. Me too. Oh, they do that? Yeah, me too. Instead of, no, we do something different from all of them, and, our Beyond Meat pate doesn't smell like dog food.
Right.
And that would be like, okay, you're definitely different, but
I like that. Yeah.
we've got to get people to the point where they're different. Okay, so daycare center, do you have any unique resources that your competitors do not? Model answer there was?
We have a vegetable garden where we teach kids how to grow and prepare fresh vegetables.
Now, I think that's probably a good differentiator, especially for the parents that want, don't mind sending little Junior or, little Nelly or whatever down there in some clothes and they don't get too dirty and they get to get their hands in the mud and kind of have an appreciation for the earth and, probably a good differentiator. So that's a good one. But notice the question, do you have any unique resources that your competitors do not? That was a yes or no.
Yes.
We could make them, force them to actually say why. They think that's a strength. That would then make that a good SWOT analysis question.
Do you think it's a strength?
What?
You think it's a strength?
Again, it's relative. So the analysis is, it's not enough to just say, this is what we do. You have to be able to say, this is what we do that other people don't. So, because we're essentially saying A and business B, what advantages does business A have over business B?
Okay.
And what disadvantages does business A have relative to business B? And so we've got to then take the weaknesses side of it and compare them, and then we would know or put those in there. And it's painful because if you, people that's sitting on the toilet one day and they go, I got a great idea. And they say, I'm going to start a company. But from that moment forward, you love the idea. And anybody that tells you anything about the idea, if they don't, disagree or whatever, you can label them as haters. These days, people don't try to refute your facts with facts. They just decide they don't like you. Nobody will ever tell you, I don't like your facts. Nobody's going to tell you that. They just, okay, your facts.
I don't like you as a person, period.
Yeah, I just stop liking you. And if I don't like you, then I'll have to listen to anything you say. But that's not what a SWOT analysis is. So I would have to say that, that's going to be dependent on what type of feedback you get as you continue through the entire exercise. And here's one, because Chick Soiree is on here right now, and she has an event organized, and I talked to her, and she's going to come on eventually and join us, for something, ask some questions. But what skill set do you have that adds value to your business?
So
go ahead, please.
I was born and raised in Houston, so I understand the culture and people here, and I know the venues and spots that are hidden gems and unknown to outsiders.
And so then, where I would take that, well, what do you think about that answer?
I think that's a good answer. I mean, but to me, it's not like really in depth, to be honest with you. Like, what skills you have that adds value to your businesses? Because I think that even though you're raised here, I'm not raised here in Houston, and I kind of pretty much know about almost everything. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's really a big strength over everybody else.
Yeah, so then it would have to, and that's why I asked you that, because, California to Houston, and it's really, what you find is it's one of the most international cities in the country. So there's a lot of people in Houston from all over the world. But there's some truth to Houston's culture, though, and it's a culture, and there's something about it, and so people, they kind of get in, like, okay, and then you realize everybody knows everybody, and there are a few hidden gems. I guess what I would have to say again is why. Is that if to that particular answer, if somebody says I know the venues and spots that are hidden gems, sometimes if things are unknown, it's for a reason. People just don't want to go.
That's it. Well, that's a good one there.
Yeah.
Gym planning. I get what
so we kind of have to address that. All right, with personal trainer, everybody knows a personal trainer these days. I feel like if everything failed for me in the law, I could just go be a personal trainer tomorrow. So what are you doing that's different from everyone else? And
I offer free exercise classes twice a month to kids in the community.
Yeah. So thoughts?
I like anything that's free.
Yeah.
As a consumer, and if I have a child, that's very appealing. I like it. I think it's cool. But what if I don't have a child? I'm not inclined to go.
Yep.
And to make you my trainer.
Yeah, and so there's that aspect of it too, is because sometimes being really successful is about narrowing your scope. So sometimes you get out there and you go, look, I've got 50 products or services that I could offer. I'm going to offer all 50. And you may actually be less successful than somebody who says, I have 50 products or services that I could offer, and I'm going to offer one. Because then I'm going to become a specialist on everybody out there. I don't want to be everything to everybody, but I want to be everything to one group of people. And so somebody that doesn't have children is going to look at this and keep going, versus somebody that does is going to look at it and go, I'm going to stick around. And so that would depend on what the profitability is of, and in your market. Like if you're in an area of Houston where there's a lot of singles.
Yeah.
Probably not the best spot for that. But if you're out in maybe, like suburbs or just kind of on those fringes, the well-established communities where you've got family homes, multifamily, and good school districts and things like that, then childcare or things for children is probably a good idea.
That's a good idea, yeah.
All right, let's just jump into weaknesses. Hair salon. Know any hair salon folks? You got any friends that are doing that?
Lots. I know a lot of people with hair salons.
Okay. So this is where you have to get honest. And it's tough to differentiate, I think, when you get into these types of things. But in what areas are your competitors better than you? This is weakness.
I have several negative online reviews because I don't always call or text potential customers back.
Yeah. And that's where that honesty comes in. A lot of people don't want to admit that negative reviews hurt you. And the truth of the matter is, some people say, well, that wasn't totally truthful. That wasn't factually accurate. So somebody left a review on my company and it was factually inaccurate. That's not the question. The question is, to what extent is it influential? To what extent is it persuasive? To what extent is it going to make somebody avoid calling you or say, I'm not going to call you? It's not whether it's true or not. It's whether or not somebody's not going to call you because of it.
Right.
And so unless you're one of those people that makes a decision that you're going to respond to every one of these and argue them out, which I've done. I've got a gym that I own, and I've gone after people on Google reviews. And I have the debate with them about whether or not they had the right to say what they said. I don't know how it worked out for me, but anyway, that's a good example. But you see where it requires honesty.
Yeah.
Yep. Landscaping company. What objections do you hear most often from potential customers? So the question here, before you answer or read our model answer, you have to ask the question, what objections, like what negative feedback are you getting? This is called the scale test, because most people have a scale in the corner in the bathroom that they don't want to step on.
Yep.
So you got one?
That I don't step on.
Yeah, see, it's kind of like, because it's going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And being a CEO is not about what you want. It's about what's best. And so I tell people quite often, I don't want to be right. I want to be rich. So
I like that.
Data is what makes you rich. And so we go, all right, well, what objections are you hearing? What complaints are you hearing from customers on a regular basis? If you don't address that honestly, you're not stepping on that scale. And in this business, you have to. So the model answer is from this person.
My prices are high compared to my competition.
And so then again, I would say why. And then I would also, in their market and competitive analysis, I would ask them to address, why are their prices lower?
Mm-hmm.
And what do they offer for that lower price
Right.
that falls below, certain standards? And I know you want to, I'm moving this along.
Good. I'm here.
Okay, cool. Just
I'm
making sure we're staying, we got a boss lady here. And I
watching
know moving along. So
time.
interior decorator. Question is, where do you have fewer resources than others? And by resources, business is value, for instance. And we
Yeah.
talk about value with companies, because that's all a business is. The job of a company is to create value. That's all a company is. And value is defined as where your returns exceed your costs. In other words, what you get back exceeds what you put in.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's really a business. And a lot of people make business very complicated, but business is just inputs and outputs. So what you put in, I put in this, and I get 2 times that back. You're creating value. Resources are what you're putting in. So if you don't have an honest conversation with yourself about what you're able to put in, time, money, training, experience, sourcing, interviewing, hiring, whatever resources you've got, you have to have that honest dialogue. So this question is, where do you have fewer resources than others?
I didn't finish college, so I don't have a formal education and I'm lacking expertise in some areas.
Okay. Now that one's a double-edged sword, because
I'm gonna ask, especially with interior decorator. I didn't know that you needed to finish college to have expertise in that area.
I think it's debatable. I suspect that some of the bigger firms probably only hire people that have paper,
Okay.
and I know that there's engineering aspects to it. So the architectural or interior design degrees probably give somebody a footing.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
Mhm. But one of the, I guess, there's a lot more than one way to skin the cat. And if you got the option to go work for someone and build knowledge there, because one of the things we know to be a universal truth is school doesn't always prepare you for all the things that you need to know for getting into business, but getting into business prepares you for getting into business. It just tends to be somewhat of a painful education sometimes. So I don't know that that's a real step, but I do think it's something that's important to address. And then what I would tell somebody in this particular scenario, because what it speaks to is, and what they said, lack of experience. And we know that the presence of experience is seen as persuasive in the mind of a decision maker. So if I'm somebody who's going to spend money with the company, and that company's personnel, staff, leadership has experience, then I see that company as somebody that could add value and worth me spending money with them. And so what I would tell somebody like this is, in their marketing, they need to, in their putting together a marketing program, they need to develop ways to highlight the experience that they do have.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially you would address that objection in your go-to-market strategy, so that when you're in the market, that objection has already been overcome. Don't wait until you're sitting at the table for somebody to say, where'd you go to school? Just address it up front, get out ahead of the issue and address it with experience. And then you essentially disarm people before they have an opportunity to come after you for it. So that one's just kind of but everybody, I think if you get with the right consultants as you're doing these businesses, or you got the right mentor, they'll walk you through something like this and go, that ain't a big deal. One of my mentors told me, don't even go to school. He was like, don't waste your time. Of course, I wanted to be a lawyer, so you have to be educated. You have to have the degrees in order to get it. But he was like, he's a millionaire. And he's like, son, if you don't want to go to school, don't go to school. Just work. Learn stuff. The world's an amazing teacher. Don't we know that to be true? All right, catering service. What does your business need? And there is nothing. You can't answer that. All right, so go for it.
We have no capital. All of our startup funds are coming from loans.
Okay. So, and depending on, why you have no capital, sometimes people get into business too early. because they're rushing. And
Uh-huh.
so they say, I don't have the money, I'll borrow it. When maybe the better move would have been to work for 2 years, which we're
Yeah.
going to have a series, with Philip Washington, who's from Houston, who's going to talk to everybody in a week or two about how to save for your retirement, but also save to put your company together at the same time, or to invest in your company while you're investing in your future, your retirement or whatever. And maybe sometimes people start early. Sometimes people need to be very careful about how much they pay for the capital, because essentially, if you can, every business has, Apple has debt.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon has debt. Facebook has debt. Every company has debt. It's okay to have debt. The question is, how's the debt structured? Is it the type of debt that prevents you from being profitable? And so you got to negotiate your debt wisely. Next one, makeup artist. Where are the gaps in your team or in your processes?
I'm in a competitive industry and I don't know anything about marketing or advertising.
Okay. And a lot of times I think with makeup, what a lot of people do there, at least from what I can see, it seems like everybody's on social.
Well, it's just like the training situation.
Is it?
Where everybody wants to be everybody's a makeup artist, everybody's a trainer, everybody's a chef right now. It's kind of like that thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I could see that. And it seems like a learn as you go type career.
Yeah, it's been one of those things. Yeah.
So I think it's probably going to be difficult for anybody to see where they've got, say, a weakness in it. So I don't really know what to say about that one. Probably some of it would go back to, there's one of the simplest tests that I can ever give somebody is, what does your bank account say about it?
Right.
Because if you ain't making any deposits, I don't know what to tell you, dog. Like, it's just probably not a good idea, or maybe you're not good at it or whatever. Now, if you look at the effort, so if you got this much potential, but you've got this much effort and potential have to meet.
Right.
So,
you have all the in the world, but if you put no effort into it, you ain't got nothing.
Yeah. And so you got to introduce the two. And once they meet, then you've kind of got that connection.
Yeah.
Then it's different, but if you haven't put the effort in and your bank account says this ain't working, it may be effort related. But if the effort is there, time is there, all that, then maybe you just don't have a dope idea. You haven't differentiated enough. So
you're not that good at it.
Yeah, you're not that good at it, which, I'm not going to have that meeting with somebody face to face. I'll do that one over a phone or Zoom so they get mad. They can't swing on me. I don't want to beat nobody up. Car wash. Oh, no, here, opportunities. Pet grooming. So we get into pet grooming. What new opportunities are becoming available in the market? This is good because opportunities, most of the time, look, and this is intentional, but the 2-week paycheck mindset. I get paid on the 1st and the 15th, or I get paid every 2 weeks. That mindset, the reason it works is because you attach yourself to it habitually and you become a consumer based on that 2-week mindset, 2-week pay mindset.
Yep.
So you tend to look at things through a very short in duration window. You look at things in 2-week periods. This week is my rent. This paycheck is my rent. Next paycheck, I'll buy a little bit of weed and some whatever. I'm kidding, but I'm going to kick it. Now I'm going to buy this. And then you tend to look at things in those small windows. As a business owner, operator, CEO, any of that, the 2-week window is nothing. You're not spending time in meetings talking about the threats that you have today, the way you do with your household, if you're short term. What CEOs look at is, what are the threats, weaknesses, strengths, opportunities that I will be dealing with 5 months from now, 7 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. Because the farther out your view, the more you can actually deal with those things ahead of time. And what happens in many instances is the really good bosses of the world don't get a lot of pats on the back for the problems that they're resolving, because they never become problems because they're already fixed.
They're already fixed by the time it hits the.
It's like a good outfielder for the Astros. Yeah, it's like, or a good, probably infielder. But you got some people who quietly achieve. They just solve problems all damn day. So you really don't see things, and recognize them as heroes because they're not saving the day after something went catastrophically wrong. Looking at opportunities is the long view. And so one thing we know is businesses change, they evolve, industries change, they evolve. Some things are cyclical, some things are cycles, some things happen in the form of a 100-year pandemic. Who
Yeah.
expected that? How do you handle that? What's the world looking like on the other side? So opportunity is about looking long term. Pet grooming. What new opportunities are becoming available in the market? And the answer?
Had 10% annual population growth over the last 5 years. Lots of new potential customers.
And that is great.
Yeah.
And what do you? I mean, so 10%. What's the average raise every year for an employee? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't get raises.
I shouldn't have put you on the spot like that.
Honestly, don't know. I don't get it.
You see, but you get paid based on merit, and that's what happens. Sometimes you get them checks. But most people are getting a 2 or 3%.
Okay.
Every year, and so that's the 2-week paycheck mindset, right? It's okay. We got 2 or 3% raise, or it just outpaces. Like if inflation is 2%, they might get a 3% or 4% raise, 5%. Right. We've had some people get 5 at I just got hit. We try to bonus people every single year. In fact, we do, and blah blah blah. But
hiring.
Now you put me on the spot. You ain't gonna have Miss Pam and them coming after me. So see, that's how you know I'm real, because I said Miss Pam and them. So look, 10% annual population growth means that if you just said as a business owner, I want to capture 2% or 20%, of that growth. So that 10%, you break it down and say, I want 20% of that. Whatever new business is coming into the city, I want 20% of that for myself. What do I need to do to go get that? Now you see this as an opportunity, and now you go back and look at your strengths, and you say, take a strength and convert it into something that's going to help me get that 20% of this 10% annual growth. And that would be a way to attack that. That's vision thinking, and that's the CEO mindset. That we're trying to get a lot of the ladies, the bosses out there, to look at their businesses this way, take the longer term window view, vision, and then they would capitalize. Job recruiting agency. How can you turn your strength into an opportunity?
I love teaching people so I could offer one-on-one training sessions to develop job skills.
Yeah. I don't know.
You don't like that?
I'm always a little fearful of the word love, the word passion in business.
Okay.
Because it's fleeting, like you ever been in love? You still love him now? How many times, passion, ever been passionate about somebody, and how long did that last? So there's a little bit more to it sometimes. So when I think about business, I typically don't want to deal with transient feelings, because the more successful the company, you look at it and you go, oh, there's longevity there, which means success comes by taking going all the way, the length. And when 50% of the marriages in this country end up in divorce,
you see it happening now.
You see it happening in those types of relationships, and those are actually overseen by God in many cases, and friends and family, and you're taking these oaths. You're not doing that in business. So it can't just be because of love. And so I think that people have to be a little bit more, they have to go a little deeper than that, and look for something that they're built to do. And go, this is my calling. It's not a job.
I love so much. Yeah.
So in that way, it's going to stay. And that'll translate, because you're going to hire people that are going to love it. Those will be your employees. It has to be your calling, though, for you to train them and actually get them, So I'd be a little concerned. Let's go website developer, and I'll read the question. Do your competitors have any weaknesses you could take advantage of? And I would probably rephrase this and go, what weaknesses do your competitors have that you could take advantage of, and why?
Yeah.
That's the way I would probably phrase it if I was consulting somebody. What weaknesses do they have, and why can you take advantage of them? But the answer is, and go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I can read it too. It's fine.
This last one, I gotta go.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
I could offer customized graphic design services along with the website development to make sites more individualized.
Mm, yep. I like it. And I know you got to go, so I want to. We'll sign off with you.
Okay.
I'm going to walk people through the rest of these, but
Okay.
what I want you to do is connect me with some of those friends that are, you've got those business people, so we can talk to them and get some of them to walk through some of these, so we can post them, even if it's just a phone call.
I got you.
You feel me?
Let's do that.
All right. You be good.
Bye, guys.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you for joining us. All right. I'm gonna finish this up. So, yeah, I think with that, the customized graphic design services along with website development to make sites more individualized, I think is good. Um, but it's not a weakness that the competitors have. So they really didn't answer the question. I know we don't have the question up. Photographer, could you package your products or services differently? I can partner with a videographer and we could offer photo and video packages. That is one way to do this. And one way to make it actually pretty strong is partnering. And I guess I should address that quickly as well. Sometimes, you get into business for yourself, or your goal is to get into business with yourself and say, okay, well, let me be everything in the business. So, inside of every company, there's going to be roles, job titles, job descriptions. This person does this. This person does this. And yes, it's true. When you first start out with your company, you're going to probably have to be what we call a jack of all trades. You're going to have to do it all. That's fine. And for startups, that's not unusual. It's very usual. You just kind of have to do it all. But once you get going, it is more productive in many instances, more efficient to actually have the right partners. So I know some people that have really, really good ideas about things that they can do or create, but they're not natural born salespeople, or they don't necessarily have that salesperson's gift. And it would probably be good for them to do some partnering. And so, I just think to the extent that you can take in your business, instead of saying, well, I don't want to split the pie with anybody, the way you should probably look at it is, how can I actually increase the size of the pie? And me taking half would still be bigger than the whole pie I would have had without this partner. And if you analyze it that way, then you can sometimes you can put a better plan together where you go, look, we've got a bigger territory, or we can cover 3 times as many businesses. Or while my salesperson is focused on selling, I'm focused on production, and we're multiplying. Because the goal of some of these businesses, believe it or not, is to get out. One of the goals is, for many businesses, the longer that I've studied this and worked with people that are really successful, the very, very high net worth people, not me, the high net worth people out there, they actually started the business with a plan to sell it. Believe it or not, they actually got into it and said, this is what it's going to cost me year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, maybe year 5. And they go, okay, we're either going to go public and I'm going to cash in, or I'm going to sell everything, get bought out by somebody. I'll stick around and run it for a little while, but I'm cashing out. And then I'll either start another business or I'll just live off of the proceeds from the one I just sold. That's a different type of thinking, but it's a thinking that considers your resources in terms of who you can partner with. So that's important. Now, threats very quickly, which is our final here. So, coffee shop owner, is there anyone that might be entering your market? A major coffee shop chain is opening a new location 2 blocks away from my store, and they have lots of loyal customers. Well, that's a threat. Good thing to get out ahead of. Very good to start studying, as we talked about in the competitive market analysis, and looking at what their customers are saying about their company. Right then and there is when you want to go look at their reviews and find out what their customers are saying. Because if you see a consistent pattern where the customers say, by the time you get back to your car, I walk up, get the car, by the time you get back to the car, the coffee's not hot, or they get my order wrong a lot. They don't have online. You can't buy with an app, or you can't buy online, so you always have to order and wait. These types of things. If you see those vulnerabilities, then you get out ahead of it and you offer the public a better alternative and do it before they open. And that way you're a clear differentiator in that regard. So that would be a good analysis. Tax preparer, and there's quite a few of those out there, good folks that have these tax businesses. And so here's one. Could future technology and trends affect how you do your taxes or how people do their taxes? And the answer is, as a large tax preparing companies offer more digital and do-it-yourself options, though the large tax preparing companies offer more digital and do-it-yourself options, less people will see the need for my specialized services. And that is a problem. And technology is one of those things that there's really, you can become a technology provider yourself or get out of the way. And those really are the options. Give me the acronyms to SWOT again. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Bell Gibson. So it is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you don't necessarily have to do them in that order. It just ended up being easier, like SWOT, to say it that way. But do it in any order you want. But strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And thank you there, studio. So what we've got, though, is on buildingaherd.com is we're going to put a worksheet up today. And you can just download the worksheet. It's PDF, and you can go in, and everything that I have here, we will have on the website. So you can go in and download that from buildingaherd.com and work with it. And you can always hit us up if you have more questions. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. So we are tax prepare. As I was saying with the technology, look, Barnes & Noble, whatever, B. Dalton Bookseller. I'm not sure what the other books, but none of them had any right to own the book market. I mean, that wasn't a right. And here comes Amazon with technology and has definitely impacted their sales. And so what they've had to do is add those technologies to their own set of offering in order to compete with the Amazons of the world. It may be very important for you. One of the things I have learned as a investor is it's only arrogance that tells me that I'm right when the industry or the market, the data is telling me I'm wrong. It's only arrogance or hubris. And it's a bit like a pilot trying to land a plane on a foggy runway when all the instrument panel is telling him, don't do this. And he says, no, I'm experienced, I'll do it, I know what I'm doing. You're taking a lot of risk, you take a lot of people with you. You don't want pilots to do that with an airplane when you're on it. You shouldn't do it with your company. Sometimes you've got to listen to the instruments, to the data. And the data has no opinion. It's agnostic. It's coming in that's basically just giving you black letter. And as it relates to the market's opinion on something, when you see the market or consensus saying we're going towards technology, if you're a tax preparer or any business where technology is coming into the business, and you think, well, I'm just going to tell everybody that technology is bad or that I'm right and that the market is wrong, I wish you luck. I really do, because the market has this great way of saying to people over time, you got it wrong. And it tends to be like a death of 1,000 knives. It's just going to slowly kill you or destroy your business. The better move is to maybe go to a couple conferences, whether you go virtually or go directly face to face, and see where these technologies are changing. Whether, any of the service industry, any of the products that people ship now and businesses done online, all that. You've got to follow these technologies and make sure that you're staying up to date. Next one is a real estate agent. Are there any market trends that can hurt your business? And probably a better way or a more in-depth way to train it or to ask this, and I probably would dig deeper with this person and ask them, what market trends are there that could hurt your business? Everybody knows that housing tends to go through cycles. Interest rates are going up. Fewer homes will sell. Not necessarily because the interest rates are too high. It's just because some people will see it as a hurdle to entry, or they're not, the lure of lower interest rates is not there anymore. And so people won't even try to buy a new home. The economy's picking back up, might be one of those things that people see as a positive. And so, but you have to consider the trends. Their answer: downturns in the economy cause people to stop buying homes. And in my business, business drops significantly. People don't have down payment money if they ain't bringing the bread in at their job. Downturns in the economy, but everybody's got their stimmy. So now that they got to, stimmy, they should, whatever, do your stimmy campaign on home sales or whatever. Food truck owner: what obstacles does your business face in the coming year? That's a great question because it forces people to fill that in. And we'll change some of these on the worksheet, but the what obstacles, not are there any obstacles, what obstacles? And now you have to think about it. I'll wrap this up very quickly. I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to come back to something here. Financial planner. Oh, the fluctuating price of supplies makes budgeting and planning extremely difficult. And then we get next, financial planner. What is your competition doing that you aren't? Another great question. It forces you to come up with something, and it hurts. It hurts. So, you got people that, it's just like there's all types of things about ourselves personally that we really don't want to face, or we grade ourselves on a very generous scale, a curve, when it comes to grading ourselves. And I think it's just human nature. But when it comes to business, human nature is not really what you want to use as a leader. You want really what's tried and true. And one of the things that's tried and true is facing the truth about what your competitors are doing that you're not. And in this case, the answer is my competition has lots of digital tools on their website for customers, including an interactive blog, calculators, and meeting scheduling capabilities. This is a financial planner. That one is pretty easy to solve because there's so many tools that you can syndicate right now. You can use what's called an API, which is application program interface, and whatever things you don't have the ability to do yourself, you can essentially use somebody else's for a fee, which means you've got to have customers to help you pay that fee. But you can use these resources, and they'll third party or blind label it. They'll essentially make it look like it's you. And so when you see my competition has lots of digital tools on their website, including an interactive blog. Interactive blog's easy. We got people for that. Site Sugar or Site Moxie, yeah. So and Site Sugar, we got both of those. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Calculators and meeting scheduling capabilities, all that's syndicated. That's all that is. So people just go out and grab something from somebody else, like a third-party resource. You can put those things on your website, and if you don't have those on your website, you should, because they're great tools, and it empowers you and your visitor to make people think, oh, I'm in the right place. Now, final point on this. This exercise, there's a sort of a final step in this, and I go back to, I'm talking to somebody using an example yesterday of, and again, ladies, this is CEO mentality, right? So it's not the things that you catch and fix. That's not why you're getting the big bucks. It's just not. It's the things that never become problems. That's why you make the big money as a CEO. It's when something never hurts the company to begin with because you had the perception or the wherewithal to actually prevent it from ever hurting the company to begin with. That's CEO mentality. And so one of the exercises is, after you've gone through all of your plays and all of the things that could potentially hurt you, and you've addressed them all, and you've run your plays, and you go, okay, here's how our strategic plan for the next 2 months or 4 months or 5 months. Then you do one final exercise, call it devil's advocate, or just, essentially making things up, and you go, let me make some things up, horrific, catastrophic, the types of things that you would see on a TV show. Maybe this will never happen type stuff. We'll go ahead and run through a few of those too. Because if you're able to say and go through those, so you went through all the things that have some high level of probability or some reasonable level of probability that they'll occur, and then you say, okay, well, let me go through the things that that probably won't occur too, because that's where we get lazy. We say, that's never going to happen, or that only happened once every 100 years. Well, COVID happened this year, and a lot of people weren't prepared for it. And there really was no historic model. And you had to go back to early 1900s in order to find a model with a different world at that time. So it was difficult to use that as a blueprint for how to move forward during COVID-19. But if you take this final step in your SWOT analysis to say, what are the things that are not probable? And let me make sure that I address those too. You're not going to get some people will know. These are the things that, when you're talking to someone, the person you vent to, and you go, I prevented this from happening. The stuff you prevent from happening, it doesn't make it to the ground because it never happened. The fires that you put out before you prevented them from ever starting. And so that doesn't necessarily have the appeal. It's not the stuff that's romanticized. But if you go through that exercise and sort of imagine all of the things that could go wrong, probably won't, but could, and then you resolve those before they ever happen, and you literally plan them out of your business, then you're going to have much better footing for this moving forward. So I would say that's a great final step. The questions here: how can I utilize SWOT analysis if there aren't other businesses in the area I want to create a business? Larry, that's a good question. And what happens is there's a number of things that you have to do. So you've got what's called not the early adopters. And so people that say if it's a technology company or if it's a services company or something like that, and then you're the first one out there with that particular company. That's not always great because look at Redbox. You had Best Buy, or excuse me, not Best Buy, Blockbuster. And Blockbuster, you had to go to the building and it was yellow and blue and it was always lit up and all that kind of stuff. And then Redbox said, we're going to change this. We don't have any competition. And so we're going to put these red boxes in front of all the convenience stores. So we're doing something that nobody else has ever done. And we can't really do a SWOT. They didn't imagine Netflix. And they got their, what handed to them because they really didn't consider that. And so that's where you kind of have to make some things up. And we can get more into detail with something, but I if you want to, like offline, off this. But I definitely think there's a way to do SWOT, even if you think. And the other thing is, like Latoria Lemon said last week, she talks to a lot of people. They say, I've got a great idea. I've got this fantastic idea. And they do have a really good idea. But a simple Google search, a thorough Google search, will show or reflect that there are some people out there doing it. And it's very rare that you have a business idea that there's nothing like it out there. Absolutely nothing. I mean, the only one I've seen that I've heard of is my idea, and because my ideas are fantastic. And it's the vodka that I drink. I'm kidding. Both those were jokes. But I do have an idea. I always use it as an example in these situations where I say I've got a pair of sunglasses that I'm going to make that allows you to see if people are telling you the truth or lying. Well, there's nothing else out there like that right now. Nothing. Closest thing we've come to it is probably a woman's intuition, and you can't sell that. You can't buy it either. So, but most businesses are out there. And most of these things are out there in real life or some variant of it, or they're in the preliminary stages. And that's where you really want to get in, is there and look and see what they're doing, kind of how they're handling their SWOT analysis in order to build something successful. So hopefully this was helpful. Obviously, 11 a.m., we know we don't have a ton of folks on, so we're rebroadcasting this, or we'll put it up, highlights of this tonight. And I would invite you guys to share it with people. And we've got Thursday of this week, and then we've got guests on. So we're putting the guests on the website so everybody know the guests that are coming on. And then we'd like to start bringing some people on, have you guys submit your questions to us via video for this, and we'll answer some of them on this broadcast live, things like that. So be sure to follow us on social, tell your friends, follow us on social, and then go to Box Houston and buildingher.com and let's see what we can make happen. So we appreciate everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm sure we'll be wrapping soon. I'm checking out, about to get to work. I'll go make some bread. Y'all be good. Peace.